So Rejuvenation Farms, give them the rundown so people know what you guys are about.
Yeah, so Rejuvenation Farms, it's a company I started in my parents' backyard in 2019 with just city water, seeds, and just plain dirt. We didn't add any compost or anything. As I told you, we were told like that's not going to work. You can't do that. And my stubbornness said, nope, we're going to do it. And sure enough, we got sunflowers, and it was great. It was a good start. And we've actually expanded into that now, and we're using regenerative agriculture practices, which is not only regenerating like your soil, but also regenerating yourself and your ecosystem and your community. And because of the practices we're doing, it actually led me to where we are now. What we just toured is this 150-acre regenerative ranch.
We're going to be getting like super quick infiltration so we don't have flash floods. Because that infiltration, we get grass growing again, so we mitigate any dust problems. So there's no more dust in the area, and we can actually mitigate fire by grazing the right way and quickly through the right season, and increase the soil health. And then you get better animals. You don't put any fertilizers, no pesticides, no nothing on the pastures, and you get this really high quality meat that is equal or better than what you would actually hunt.
I like to call it a ranch. Even the veggie farm part is a ranch because we're actually ranching miniature organisms in the soil. That's what we're focusing on, is all that microbiology in the soil and working with that underground livestock.
This is a microscope. We're all actually currently taking certifications to become certified lab technicians through the microscope. So we test all of our soils. We test all of our client soils for the bacterial and the fungal. This is the most important thing here. Like this one thing, we could do all the best stuff in the world, but if we can't show it, nobody cares. If you don't have the numbers and you don't have the data, it doesn't matter.
We're growing turnips and radishes, lettuce, spinach, broccoli. We're ranching lambs and chickens, and now we got goats. So it's really just in 2 years. I mean, we've gone from this backyard to a literal lifestyle and just a community change.
I knew you guys were doing regenerative farming. I practiced that word before today, by the way, because I've always said it wrong on the podcast. So I knew that was the concept of what you guys were doing. I didn't know how far that went. And what I also didn't realize was that you've got all these different streams of the business. So different things you're focused on. So there's some serious land restoration. There's some compost creation.
I did what's called cover cropping, which is a standard practice for soil health. People just put seeds in the ground, they let it grow, and then you chop it down, and then it decomposes, and then you plant it again, and you repeat the cycle, and you're literally adding in the nutrients.
Right.
Now we accelerate that process a little bit. So we actually accelerate the process by this: biologically active compost.
Biologically active, you're looking for bacteria primarily.
Well, no, we're actually looking for fungi. So we want to try to have more fungi than bacteria because fungi can actually sequester carbon.
Okay.
When they create their hyphae strands, their roots essentially, they use 20% or like 20 times more carbon in the soil because they're using carbon to create that shell, where the bacteria use that carbon and then off-gas it.
Right, makes sense.
And then the fungi can actually dig deep into the soil layer and actually be an extension of the plant root. So they'll create a relationship with the root. This is a compost tea brewer. This is, we use this for all of our large scale projects. And it just makes it really easy. You can actually do this in a 5-gallon bucket. When we tell our patrons and members at the farmers market, because they'll buy this from us, we tell them how to do it. And I was like, take a handful, put it in like a dense cheesecloth, something that's similar to this, and then just massage it in a 5-gallon bucket. That 5-gallon bucket can go over an entire acre, and you will get fertilizer-like results.
Interesting.
And then we just turn this on, and it just bubbles.
Yeah.
And that's it. So what that's doing is, and I'll show you down here, is the air is coming through that bag and pushing off those organisms into the water. If we leave this for like several days, they will actually populate in the water.
There's the veggie farm and the veggie garden. So you've got all these different things that you have your hands in. And at the end of the day, it sounded like the most important thing is all of the research that you guys are able to do here. So you're able to, in pursuing this experiment, document what you're doing, and show the results of how you are able to restore the soil, the land in this area because of these practices.
Everything we're doing here is just to restore the water cycle and the mineral cycle of this whole area and bring back the grasslands.
Because I'm imagining when I look around at the dirt of Tucson, I don't imagine that I can just like pop a lettuce seed in the ground and put water on it and we're gonna be okay. So like, what are you growing this in? Like, what have you done to the soil here?
You can absolutely do that. This driveway right here.
Okay.
If I tell you I need you to grow food in it in 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to dig out a lot of the rocks, I imagine, wouldn't I? To get rid of that kind of, because I feel like that's going to drain water and...
Basically nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Except it's not. This is only 2 years old.
Wow.
We pulled food out of it last year. We were pulling about a pound of lettuce per foot out of it last year, which is really good. That's the numbers that we want to hit. But then we had like a bunch of pest issues. Like we lost way more money than we made because of pests and the soil wasn't ready. I mean, we literally took an old driveway and converted it into a garden.
Help me understand the long-term concept here with regenerative farming. So I recognize that a whole lot of it is going into this research, but the goal of this farm, all that land that you guys are then restoring out there, will the concept be to eventually have more and more animals grazing out there, and it's a ranch focus, or are you guys going to plant crops out there, or you could do both?
That's great. That's a really good question because it's all of those. This 150 acres, just so that we can refer to it, is called the Dawn Demonstration Site. So that stands for Drylands Alliance Addressing Water Needs, and that's a nonprofit that was started from the engineering company because they saw the potential of what we're doing. So under that nonprofit, as you were saying, we are running experiments on what is the best agricultural practice to restore soil health, and specifically regenerative agricultural practice.
Typically, these guys are right behind our sheep. Right now, however, we are running an experiment on trying to produce our entire compost operation off of this land and being self-sufficient. So we need a nitrogen source. Chicken poo is super hot.
Okay.
Once you put it on wood chips, it actually has a specific chemical reaction, and the microbes can colonize the wood chips really quickly versus just having them poop on the ground and then scooping it up. We can actually save more microbes by having them poop on the wood chips.
Very cool.
Then it's healthier, they don't get sick as much. So they'll be here for, a week or two, and then we'll actually literally we'll just lift up that gate and roll it away.
Yeah. So what are these ladies eating then?
They eat regular organic chicken food, but they'll also get a bunch, like you can see, orange peels. There's a weed that grows around here that's really high in protein. It's like a spinach, but yeah, just regular chicken food. They'll scratch through here. This has a bunch of bugs in it right now because we got
that's what I was thinking too.
A ton of rain.
Yeah.
So that's like super wet.
Right.
What we're going to do is, with the help of my wife, she's set up different experiments to say, okay, we have 5 techniques, for example. What combination of these techniques and the costs associated with those techniques gets you the best yield? And yield is measured by, it depends on what you're doing, right? Some of it's going to be for active cropland. It's going to be, we're already doing it on the veggies. And then a lot of it though, Dawn is part of a larger network called the Savory Institute. It's all focused around the animals and really bringing the animals back into the fold, because we've pushed them out so far. Like we keep the animals over there, we keep the grass over there, and then we put it in the barn.
Right.
And it's really combining those two.
So I'm noticing all of the poop on the ground.
Yep.
This is all from your lambs?
This is all from our sheep.
Wow.
Our sheep and 2 goats that we just got from our neighbor because hay prices are too expensive. So we've been grazing the sheep out here and the goats, and we leave them in a paddock right now for like 7 days.
Yeah.
And we're doing that because we have all these mesquite trees, and mesquite trees are huge, almost like the javelina. They're almost like a pest problem for a lot of the Southwest. Instead of using helicopters and herbicide on thousands of acres like they're doing in New Mexico, and just literally poisoning the trees and the water and everything, we're seeing if we can manage them with goats and sheep. So this area has not been touched by any animals for over a year. And if you look at the bottom 4 feet here, and then look at the bottom 4 feet there, totally different. It's almost like somebody went in there, right?
Right, exactly.
We're going to be focusing on using the animals and the impact that the animals have on the soil to either get, bigger, tastier heads of broccoli or more grass for them to grow. So we are going to have to add animals, just because if we're doing it right, we're going to get more grass and we're going to get denser grass, and the forage is going to be more. So instead of eating 2 leaves, they can eat 1 and get the same nutrients, which means we need to manage that. Because if you just let it grow and let it grow and let it grow, then you're going to get overtaken, right? You let it rest too long. So we have to bring in the animals. We have to bring in more animals to then keep it mowed and keep it down, which then keeps it regenerating over and over again.
If I was a conventional rancher, I would say, great, I have 5,000 acres and I can get 2 cows per acre. So that means I get 200 cows out there. My math is probably wrong, but let's call it 200 cows. And they will say, okay, drop them off at the edge and say, see you later. And they'll just let them roam the entire 5,000 acres, which means their poop is going to be super scattered.
Yeah.
They're also going to only graze one specific plant that they really like all the way down to the ground.
Right.
And they're going to leave all the stuff they don't want to eat.
Right.
So what we do is put them in a tight little area. So we have the equivalent of 3 cows on 8 acres. One of the things that we've really used the animals for is their hoof action. They're leaving this little indentation with like walls on both sides. So when it rains, the water will actually collect right here. Where if we go over there and there's no hoof prints, it'll literally just run off.
It'll run.
So we are slowing the water and then infiltrating the water.
Yeah.
And then what'll happen is, these poos will also get caught up in there. There's millions of seeds down here. I mean, we don't plant all the little things that are popping up. We don't plant any of it. There's even grass growing up.
Yeah.
So that will fertilize the seed, and then the water will soak it in, and the soil will act as a sponge. It'll not only hold the water, but it will slowly squeeze out the water into the plant. So it'll actually make your plant green longer and make the roots go deeper.
So how often do you move the entire enclosure to the next spot?
So it depends on what we're managing for. So right now we're managing for mesquite tree devastation. Just start whistling and then walking towards me. Okay, you can come on this way. And what we'll do is we just untie this thing. And then just pull that up. And then just walk backwards and keep whistling. Come on. Good job, Mama. Don't leave her behind. Keep walking back. There you go. Good job, babies.
On a business aspect, it's great. It takes the exact same effort to move 1 cow that it does 10,000. It's all about the money at the end of the day and the grass, right? You grow more grass, you get more cows, you get more cows, you get more money.
I'm gonna give that to you, and we'll go back to that first one real quick. And what we'll do is we're actually gonna pull this a little tighter.
Okay.
So this guy will slide on over.
Okay.
And then that slides over like that, and then you just put your foot right there, push it, give it some good tension, and just pound it in.
Gotcha.
And then once you get to a point, move your foot up a rung, and do that. There you go.
Like a regular goddamn rancher.
That's it.
We have covered some serious ground on this podcast. I really feel like we got into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, we kind of went all a little everywhere with it.
Between the podcast and the tour, I feel like we have got some really good things for people to see and explore and discover. Tell people where they can find you on the internet. Where would you like them to go?
Grant Timms on Facebook, or rejuvenation_farms on Instagram. We have a little picture of a leaf on it for our logo. I answer all the DMs. I'm always looking to, meet new people. I try to put everything I know out for free. This is really important work, and there's a lot of people who are doing it with massive barriers to entry. My farm is open 24/7, 7 days a week. I just ask that if anybody is going to join the farm, just give me like an hour heads up so I can tell you if I'm there, just because we have a lot going on.